what's going to be? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computer needs. Whether you're building a gaming PC, need a PC for streaming, music, creative, business, Dark Fusion Systems will build the proper PC for you. Get $100 off your entire build. Use the code CPPOD at checkout, darkfusionsystems.com. Link to the podcast below. They also have a brand new keyboard for you guys to go check out and go and get because, ooh, that's good stuff. Now it's time for feature presentation. We're going all the way to the Southwestern United Kingdom to talk with Ant from the band LOVELOST. We talk about the emo roots that come up in there and then really dive deep into how mental health is all around the forefront of these songs, and a great strategy for you guys to get connected even further, not only with your mental health, but also how to talk about it even more with other people and connect with them in a very non-intrusive way. You guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. One of the models of the podcast is to help young rock and metal fans discover new music. And if I wasn't going to be able to bring out a band that is new, fresh, needs to get a look at, I would be lying to myself. But that's what we're doing right here. All the way from the southwestern part of the United Kingdom. This band's coming on, bringing this old school emo feel, mixing in some more alternative rock, metal twists in there that you're going to want to check out. They already have a single out called Burn Bright and a second one called Pour the Salt In, releasing on April 19th. But you know what? Why don't we get into the band with one of the members right here? So please welcome Ant from the band LOVELOST, the podcast. So Ant, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
Thanks for being on, man. I really appreciate you taking the time today. And first thing I want to know is, right off the bat is, I've tried to find out as much as I could about the band, and I couldn't really find out that much. So everyone gets to know you guys. Can you give me like a full-on superhero style origin story for LOVELOST that could kick off another MCU like Iron Man did?
I probably won't be able to top Iron Man. But yeah, so LOVELOST started with both Tobias and Sam originally. Originally was just a project between those two guys. Sam was in another band prior to that, which have now unfortunately broken up. Since that band broke up, they took it a little bit more seriously, and then they started seeking out new members, but they really took the time with it. They wanted to make sure they had the right people and whatnot. Tobias has been writing music for ever. I've known Tobias for quite a long time, like in this same music scene sort of thing. And I actually dropped him a message long before he approached me saying, "Oh, dude, heard you starting some music. Do you need a bassist? I'll be keen." But Sam was actually playing bass at the time, but they couldn't find a bassist in the end, so he went guitar. And then Tobias reached out to me. He got Ed, the drummer, in just before I joined as well. And kind of from there on out, it's just been pretty solid. We've been kind of heads down, and things have just started kicking off from there, really.
I mean, things started kicking off for sure. You guys are signed to Year the Rat Records, just being able to start building up on everything, getting a couple of releases out there, really getting a full focus in there. But that's kind of what I've been seeing with a lot of new bands recently. Of course, this is, I think, also a product of the pandemic as well, where a lot of bands had gone into that and a lot of bands had not survived or broken up, of course, due to different obligations, changing responsibilities, changing interests, all that kind of stuff. And it'll always start out as projects and then end up evolving into something more because, of course, we can't just stop making music or listening to music or doing anything creative, especially if we're already in that creative space. It's something that drives us. It's something that just we thrive off of. And if you take that away and you make us live that insane, boring, 9-to-5 life of go to work, come home, watch Netflix, go to sleep and repeat, we can't thrive like that. We can't live like that, man.
No, for sure. I think more so musicians as well. They're a different type of breed of people. So you can't get them to sitting down and doing nothing, I find.
No, you can't, but it's also a very necessary breed of people too, because music adds so much amplification to emotion throughout our whole entire lives. Whether it's, just try and watch a movie without music. It's terrible.
Yeah, for sure, man. And the group of us are all quite similar in that respect as well. We work really well as a unit. It's a good bunch of lads. I think that's why things have kind of started off so strong with us. It's because we all just knuckle down, get to work. Everyone has their roles in the band. It's really cohesive as well. So it's been a lot of fun and quite overwhelming at points as well, because we've had so much support so early on with the band as well, and it's been pretty cool.
I'd say it has to be surprising to get this much support early on, though. But like I said, I mean, it's kind of cool where you always hear about bands and you always hear about those origin stories where bands had taken a couple of years to get traction
Mm,
or had been playing in all these local dive bars for years before anybody even took a look at them. But you guys are getting a look right away. So just overall,
mm.
emotionally, just how are you handling something like this and trying to continue forward with this positivity while not getting too far ahead of yourself?
Yeah, that's it, right? It's like try not to get too far ahead of yourself. But I think we're all just taking it in our stride, really, because we got signed like 2 months after I joined the band, which is crazy, you know? Um, yeah, something like 2 or 3 months. Um, and things have just like, and since being on Year the Rat, they've like, know, with the support from them, things have just like escalated tenfold from there on out as well. But we're just focused on the music, man. That's what it's all about. We love making music, we love, playing music, etc. And the music that we're writing as well is very kind of like it's very vulnerable, it's very real as well. So for us, it's like, especially Tobias, because he's the one that writes all the lyrics and stuff. I feels a bit of a weight off his shoulders that is all out now to the public, and he can express, his music to people, which is quite cool. So as long as we're focused on that, it'll keep us on the straight and narrow.
That's a good idea to have and a good mindset to have is just that consistent, like cathartic, positive release where you're not going
Yeah.
to get too far ahead of yourselves in terms of trying to set insanely lofty expectations just from the get go so that, in the end, it doesn't work out, then all of a sudden, you don't have these big,
Mm.
massive letdowns. Of course, I do want to see any letdowns happen. I want to see you guys continue to grow. But at the same time, it's, we've gone through life. We've all had our ups and downs. We know what, especially in a creative standpoint, where those highs can come from, where those lows can come from. And when those lows potentially do happen, some of the issues that could happen within those, because man, I've had some lows happen to me and like doing the podcast myself, and ooh, it can be tough to get out of, just kind of get out of the way of maybe inflated expectations that you have from yourself when you get some sort of success happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sometimes I feel like, you can be your own enemy sometimes in that respect. I'm a sucker for it, trying like to outdo myself all the time. And a lot of our music, a lot of that relates to that as well, about, how we cope and how we don't cope with those kind of things. So yeah, like we try and like express that as much as we can in true emo style.
An absolute true emo style, expressing
That's
it
it.
every step of the way. So overall, when it came to this like more emo style of music that does have a
Mm.
lot more of these different mixes in there, just how did this whole entire sound come to be? How did you guys create this? What was all the inspirations behind it? Like, what was the formation of the sound overall? What's that backstory?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess a lot of it sounds a bit cliche, but a lot of it comes from like the nostalgia of like old emo music. And when I'm talking like old emo music, I'm not talking like Black Parade. I'm talking like before then. Um, so yeah, we were all brought up on like, this, scene kid. We all had the big long fringes back in the day, with the MySpace photos from up here with ridiculous MySpace names, and we had the fancy MySpace pages, HTML and all that kind of jazz. We were all a part of that. Um, God, I remember listening to like, like for me personally, it was like bands like, Seriously and like I don't know if you guys know him over the States, but like, there's a band called Funeral for a Friend, very emo
Mm-hmm.
name. They were a Welsh band, um, recently broken up, unfortunately. But yeah, like bands like that, we were all brought up on, not brought up on work, but we lived our teenage years, throughout that. And I think we wanted to kind of like relive that slightly, in a way, and put that into the music. And then obviously we want to kind of put a bit of modern twist into it to what we listen to nowadays. Um, yeah, I like our music taste in general across the whole band is so vast and so like, we don't just stick to one slot, if that makes sense. Ed loves drum and bass, so do I. Like where I live, I'm from a city called Bristol, which is like the home of drum and bass. Um, yeah, so I love that electronic music and all that kind of stuff, which is cool. And so that's where you may not so much Burn Bright, but in future songs you may hear some like electronic kind of like influences here or there, which is quite cool. Um, so yeah, like Burn Bright would be like not bad, but poor example of what we are really expanding our music too. So there are other songs that we will be bringing out that where you'll see that happen more, if that makes sense. But yeah, to like answer your question, like it all came about just to like relive our nostalgia a little bit, but in our own way, if that makes sense.
Oh, that absolutely makes sense. I would love to see those old MySpace profiles and those MySpace photos from you guys.
Oh,
It
I
might,
don't.
I was say it might be a little bit of a freaky blast past. Like, let's keep that back in that era. I don't want to ever see that again from like 2005, 2006. But for someone like me, I'm just like, I kind of would love to see that just to see how, like, especially everyone that's making music now, especially at like, over the age, I would say 25, 26, see if they were on MySpace, see what they end up looking like, because I remember those days, but
Oh, yes.
I was like 11, 12, 13 years old when that was going on. So I was like
Oh,
right at the
really?
beginning
Okay.
stages of like
Oh,
when I
man.
would really get into it.
Oh, you're making me feel old, right?
I'm
Yeah, I
not
was
trying to, man.
yeah, no, I remember those days that like you had your like your is it top five friends or whatever as
The
well.
top eight.
The top eight, that was it.
Oh
And
God.
if your mate annoyed you, like right, remove.
Uh, Yeah, well, I mean, could you imagine being especially like 12, 13 years old and all of a sudden you remove someone from your top eight the next day at school? It's like the big news, like, oh my God,
Yeah,
this person
that's
removed them
it.
from their top eight. Why is that? Are they mad at each other? Did they break up? It's like, does it really matter? Maybe it just happened.
Oh, mate, those are the days, golden days.
Ah, yes, those are the days, the golden days. And it does make a lot of sense, diving more into the emo style music, especially because that's really where
Mm.
you guys were into. So, especially when it comes to making music, what you guys are absolutely a part of, like it comes across as authentic, it comes across as genuine because you are genuinely into that style, into that feel, and it's coming directly from within you. But what you said about adding other pieces into it, because let's just say you kept making just the same emo music that had been made back in the early 2000s, you know, yeah, that's fine. It's nostalgic and everything. But when it comes to really expanding on a sound, expanding upon where you are as musicians, you're just going to be rehashing the same stuff over and over and over again. You're going to end up getting bored at one point in time. But if you end up bringing in other influences from your life, like you did with, more drum and bass, especially being from Bristol, we're going to see that on a couple other songs going forward. And what's going to happen is we're going to end up getting a little bit more of a better understanding of who Love Lost is, what Love Lost is all about, and then get a fuller grasp of just what difference is coming to the table now in terms of your own sound, because bands that end up having that influence but able to turn it around into their own thing and
Mm.
create their own thing off of those influences, those are the ones that are in the rock, metal, and all the subgenres that are really popping off right now. I've brought this up a couple of times, but I mean, everyone that's kind of taking something and just running with it on their own influences. Take a look at stuff like Spirit Box, Bad Omens, Sleep Token, Lorna Shore, Electric Callboy.
Yeah.
Just fantastic examples of bands that are just taking whatever style they have, gone so far heavily into what they exactly want to do. Bring Me the Horizon is a perfect example of it too. Just
Yes.
whatever
Yeah.
they feel like doing, and they just go do it. And it's those
Yeah, for
bands that
sure.
they get a lot of love. They also do get a lot of hate because you get the metal detractors and the gatekeepers of this isn't the way it was on album 1 or album 2 or this song, and I don't like this anymore. But then you see it's like, well, the band is growing. The band is continuing to evolve their sound. It's continuing to become an even bigger thing, which is what you wanted that band to be. But then you see what happens. It's just you need to have those influences come in and really take hold from what you like to really create this whole entire sound to be something, have that emo base to it, but really be something your own that we can call just what Love Lost is.
Yeah, I think as soon as you box yourself in as a musician, that's the end of you being a musician at the end of the day. I think the beauty of music is that it's like forever expandable to like whatever you want it to be in a way. Um, and that's like how we treat it all. No, there's no limit as such to what you can do. Like Bring Me the Horizon are a fantastic opportunity, example of that. Um, they've got elements of like hyper pop and all this kind of all these kind of different types of genres in the music, and it just it just they just do it so well. They've even like recently got a Brit Award as well, which is huge, especially of a band in the genre. And I don't think what people realize is that it does so much for this genre of music as well, because it's expanded to a much wider audience, and then they're more likely then to listen to other bands that are not as big as Bring the Horizon stuff, and it makes like a good positive knock-on effect, to where these kind of like maybe smaller bands that are doing or trying to do a similar thing might get a little bit more traction and
Mm-hmm.
more eyes on them and stuff. So yeah, as much as get the people up there talking shit and kind of saying, "Oh, it's not metal," fuck them. At the end of the day, just do what you just got to do what you got to do, right? I don't think they realize how much these bands, that you gave an example was. Um, I think every single band that you noted as well, people have said that about them as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Spirit Box, Sleep Token, Bad Omens, Bring the Horizon. Everyone's always talk, trash about them, comparing to what they used to be and what they are now and stuff. But like I was saying, I don't think people realize how much they are actually doing for the industry, and this genre of music. It's amazing what they're doing.
Yeah, and like you said, with that whole entire Brit Award, I'm assuming because you brought it up, it is definitely going to be a major thing because
Yeah,
if
huge.
fans, as fans are able to like take a look at that, or people from other genres, it's like, okay, now they're listening to Bring Me the Horizon, they find something they like and they really take hold of it. Now let's see what other bands could potentially have something for that for them and continue on. Maybe they like some of the more metalcore and heavier stuff, so they find bands like Architects, they find While She Sleeps, they find Buried Tomorrow. Or they end up going a little bit more on the lighter side, go post-hardcore,
Mhm.
and they find bands like Holding Absence and Caskets. Or they go a little bit more, potentially some of the hyperpop stuff, some more of the emo stuff. They see exactly where all these different places are coming from, and they try and find sounds that Bring the Horizon has worked with that have other bands that are doing something similar, because that's where the interest lies, and it just continues to grow. That's why, like, over here in America, it's like I'm hoping that Bad Omens ends up getting some kind of recognition from the mass audience of just pop culture, because
Mhm.
that ends up providing much more support for them. We've seen Spirit Box get some of it, we've seen I Prevail get some of it, but I think Bad Omens is one that we need to have happen to, so we can have that moment where people are getting more into them, and of course then it descends down into so many other bands and we can help lift them up.
Mhm.
Because if we don't do that, then the genres are going to end up going the way that they were in the 2010s, when we had so many, especially here in America, so many different tastemakers and radio DJs saying that rock was dead, that metal was dead. And then a lot of bands end up getting stunted in terms of their overall
Mhm.
potential growth, because people kept saying that these genres were dead. So people didn't have any real inclination or any real motivation to go check them out.
Yeah, I think not only that, I think it will make labels as well consider these heavier bands, the bigger labels,
Mm-hmm.
and again, then there's more opportunity for these bands to be signed by a huge label to get, a good budget behind them and be able to put on some big shows, because there's some bands out there, that could, if they had the budget, they could put on some insane shows, but they just don't have it, right? Um, yeah, like I'm trying to think of an example, but all the bands I'm thinking of are probably a little bit too small to have a big budget. But no, maybe not. So like one band I'm really, really into at the moment is an American band called Casey. I love them. I love Casey. So good. I wouldn't really say that they're huge. I would say they're a large band, but they're not Bring the Horizon level, right? So like bands at that level, I think, they deserve to have, these big signings, and yeah, so hopefully if this carries on, this momentum of these bands, you know, getting the recognition, labels will start thinking, oh, there's money involved here. People want to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it means it's good for us as well,
Yeah.
as a smaller band, trying to like, the end goal, for any band is to be able to, do your own headline show and sell it out. That's the dream, right? But I think in the genre, it just seems like such a not impossible, but such a hard dream to try and achieve. You know what I mean? As opposed to like, if you're a pop artist, if you get signed straight away as a pop artist, you're probably going to get signed, to a pretty good label, off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't really see that many kind of like small independent pop labels nowadays, if you get my gist, compared to
Mm-hmm.
like all these other smaller genres.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I'm trying to think, even from the pop music perspective, it's anytime you never hear about any like smaller
No, never.
or emerging artists. It's usually with pop stars, it's they drop right away and then they're there and that's it. So it's kind of like it seems like at times they're planted there, but you never really see the growth of them throughout the years. It's, of course they're going to start out small, but it's like once they get noticed and once they get signed, now all of a sudden they have a whole team of producers, writers, and people that are helping record behind them, all this money behind them from a major label, and they have that marketability standpoint. Now, don't get me wrong, there are pop artists out there that are making some incredible music that is absolutely reaching many, many people for the positive, and we need stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, even though I love rock and metal, we need stuff like that. But from the rock and metal perspective, we constantly are seeing bands that are playing these small little dive bars, maybe playing venues that are 100 and 200 cap, and maybe struggling to even, max out at that. Or then we're starting to see bands that kind of pick up and we follow along with their journeys. So we have that embedded like relationship with them in terms of our own minds. And we want to see them succeed. And we have labels that are a little bit smaller, a little bit more on the medium side. Some of the bigger labels for rock and metal specifically, but we also have the big giant labels that have so much backing behind them. Where could you imagine if Bring Me the Horizon got on just one of those just gigantic, massive labels, no matter even how big they are right now, where all of a sudden they could end up going out and playing, I'm not talking arenas, I'm talking stadiums in front of 50, 60,000. I'd love to see something like that happen, because then it puts more focus on, like we said, other bands alike, and it just gives more focus to what else is coming up. And as we see more bands continue to rise to the occasion in that aspect, we're just going to see more bands that are smaller, emerging, have a better chance at success in their own right, because the focus is going to be there and more people are going to want to get into it, not only for the sound, not only for the nostalgia, whatever it might be, but also for the community at large as well, because of how many people could get into it and how great a community it can be. Because we've all been to shows, you play shows, I go to shows all the time. We know how great this thing can be.
Yeah. And it's already happening in front of our eyes as well. Bring the Horizon, they're on a huge label. They're on I can't remember now. But they're on like a sub label of a big label, if that makes sense. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know that Sleep Token recently got signed to a huge sign-in as well, which was massive. And they do arena tours here in the UK, and sell them out. It's like they're already doing that, it's crazy. But then it's like being able to do that across the world, as long as you do that across the worldwide globe, then you've made it.
Yeah. And again, then we just get to see more bands like LOVELOST get more attention on them because
got more opportunity to support and all that kind of stuff. And exactly. It just creates a good knock-on wave, and it's good to see like people like, I think where the conversation originated from, right? It's like, it's good to see bands actually, more bands nowadays, kind of like expanding their sound and really experimenting with it and stuff. And it's something that we will always kind of try and do, we try and like experiment and give new things a go, even if it might feel like a risk, you got to do it. It's all part of the fun,
It's all part of the fun. It's part of the music. It's part of your own style. And if you're not experimenting with it and having fun with it, then what's the point? So let's actually get a little bit more specific on that, where, of course, after we listen to Burn Bright, we know it definitely has that emo root to it. And it had a little bit more of this heavier style to it as well, especially when we got to more of a breakdown standpoint. However, what other ideas are you guys currently working on of certain influences? You can be as general as you want, you can be as specific as you want, but just give us a little taste of potentially what other ideas might be coming through the pipeline from LOVELOST.
Yeah, so we do have an EP that we are going to be releasing slowly. But I won't say how many songs, but that's all I can say. So yeah, we will be releasing that. And then we've got our next single to come out. I would, without saying too much, I would expect something heavier, much heavier, and also something much softer and sadder as well. So yeah, there's going to be Burn Bright is basically like the middle song, if that makes sense. That's kind of got everything around it. It's kind of in the middle of everything. It sits in nicely. But yeah, so we've got like a nice big ballad coming out, etc., and some nice heavy songs as well. So but that's as much as I'll say. That's my snippet for you.
Yep, that's my little teaser right there.
There's your carrot.
Yes, please give me the carrot, but something like that. But it makes sense, especially releasing Burn Bright as your first one, especially being more of the middle of what you guys can do in terms of heavy or lighter, because you want to show people where you can go with this, but also it's okay, what's coming next? And now it allows you potentially go in any other direction, because let's say you start off with the ballad, let's say you start off with something that's much lighter. Then all of a sudden, if you try and go heavier, there's going to be already confusion from anybody there where it's like, well, we thought they were lighter. We thought they were, not this heavy. What the heck's going on? Or from the opposite standpoint, if you start out really heavy and all of a sudden you go light, you already are going to get people that are on Reddit. They're going to say, oh, this band's sold out because they're not as heavy as they used to be. And I see that all the time. But if you start out in the middle, it's like, okay, now this could go lighter. This could go soft. This could go softer, lighter. This could go heavier and much more fast paced, much more manic, much more driven, much more just intense. But who knows where it could go? That's the key, is just, especially with your music, especially with any band, I say is, you always want to go wherever you want. Just go wherever you want. But at the same time, too, it's keep that open for us and keep us wondering what might come next. But also us still knowing that it's going to be you. So it's like, keep that sound at your core that you absolutely love, that makes you you. But at the exact same time, have the freedom to expand off of that and go as far as you want with that, because damn, you never know what could happen. You could have a song like, go Bring Me the Horizon, listen to a song like Medicine off of Amo, and you're like, this is one of the lightest things I've ever heard in the history of the universe. What the heck's going on? Very poppy, very just electronic driven. All right, let's put shuffle on and see what the next song comes up. Oh, it's a song called Pray for Plagues. I wonder what this is about.
Great song, by the way. I saw Bring the Horizon live when they first brought that album out, and they were on the third stage at a festival, and they were like these little, well, I would say I was also a little teenager, but these teenagers on a stage. And I remember that very Download Festival, Ollie Sykes did an interview, and they said, oh, where do you see yourself in so many years? He goes, oh, I'm going to be selling out arenas, and I'm going to be, I'm going to be world famous. And they're like, yeah, all right. And fast forward, here he is. Yeah, that was a good festival. But yeah, sorry, I tailed off then. Just completely went off the radar. Yeah, so like back to our releases stuff. Yeah, so yeah, I think the plan was Burn Bright was always going to be the first song to come out, just because it was like the perfect one. I absolutely love that song. The message behind it is great as well. It's a very vulnerable song as well. Yeah, no, I love it. It's a shame. Is it shameful to say that I listened to it myself? But it is a great song, and yeah, we're just glad it's out now.
So it's definitely not a shame to say you listen to yourself, but I'll say this though, man, and you can't give me blue balls with this saying it's a very vulnerable song and not give me more details on it.
Oh,
Come
sorry.
on, man. Let's dive deeper in the song. What was the song truly about? What was it really written about? Why is it that just absolutely emotionally vulnerable thing?
Yeah, so the song is about like a personal experience through suicide, or losing a friend through suicide, and from Tobias's side. So yeah, he lost a number of friends, because of that. And it's just his kind of way of expressing of how to deal with it, and him feeling selfish, that he's angry at them for leaving him and stuff like that, and him feeling like he could have done more and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very kind of heart on your sleeve kind of song. So if you listen to the lyrics and with that in mind, it is it is quite heart-wrenching to listen to, especially when you know what it's about. Hence, with the lyric, why'd you have to burn out instead of burn bright, sort of thing. But yeah, so that's what it's all about. And a lot of our songs kind of like follow that kind of similar, not same subject, but like kind of similar vulnerability to them as well. So yeah, I would say, like, the one thing I would say about all of our releases going forward, I would expect that with every single song that we release.
Okay, makes sense. I mean, when I think about Burn Bright too, I was kind of thinking in a very similar capacity where even from just, why just to burn out instead of burn bright, it's a little bit different too, because how you're explaining it, where, from our standpoint as the ones that are still here, still living, and when you have to deal with something like that, of course, your mind is going to be burning absolutely bright with so many different feelings and emotions of potential anger, resentment, and just frustration of, why did your friend have to do this? Why couldn't they just stay here? What happened? Why did they have to do this to us? and then sadness and a regret and just this overall feeling of the weight on your shoulders of, I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have been there. Maybe they just need me to call one time. Maybe they need me just to say something one time, and that would have been it. It really does hit home in that capacity too, in terms of, those feelings burning bright, because we still want those people to be here with us. We still want them to be around. We still want them to be feeling the positive feelings they did at least at some point in life, because the positiveness that they brought to life by being just around amplified so much for not only everyone around them, but then they could in turn return it back to that person tenfold, especially when they needed it. And as much as it, I do know people that go through this stuff. I do know people that deal with this stuff. I've dealt with the feelings like this before, and it's hard to get out of, especially if you're in it. But
yeah, for sure.
But if you have, but it's just like, okay, at the same time, it's, find that support system, find whatever you need, and just be open about, because trust me, there are so many other people in life that are close to you that will not judge you for what you're going through, not look at it any other way, because they care more about you getting better and you getting back to who you are than, oh, you're going through something. Like these are people you trust, these are the people you love. Like, they're going to help you. Because they want to have you around because of the positiveness you bring to not only your life, but every life you touch.
Yeah, I think the important thing for us is, through our music, is hopefully to like connect to people about that. Mental health for us as a group is super, super important. Myself and the guys are all supportive of one another. If we're going through stuff, we just tell each other, we just talk to each other. I think that's why the band, is very important for one and every single member. Just it's not just a band, it's like a little support network for us where we can all chat, which is nice. We've all kind of dealt with our own kind of like mental, problems and stuff like that. And I think, also like, trying to, express through our music that, it's okay to talk to people, and, it's okay to have these feelings and stuff like that, and, as a group, we're very much advocates, of mental health, and being just telling people it's okay to go, like, chat to people, and especially men, right? Us men are awful for it, Me personally, I work with a lot of, not a lot, I work with a men's mental health charity, but locally around here. So, I'm a CrossFit coach. Very American, by the way. I'm a CrossFit coach. There you go. CrossFit. There you go. I had to snip that in there, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
A CrossFit has to tell you that he does CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I do 3 sessions for men, and they come and talk about the problems, and we do go and do a session, and then at the end, we have a little group round. We talk about problems again, and just kind of see if that little 1 hour's helped us. So yeah, kind of going back to what we're talking about, yeah, like mental health is super important, and I think it's important that everybody connects with each other. So yeah, I hope that people feel that in our music as well,
But that's also the beauty of music too, because music is able to give a tangible explanation to those things that we just cannot explain, because I can't explain what it exactly feels like perfectly to go through a very incredibly stressful situation where you feel like you're not worth it anymore, or that you feel like life's not worth living anymore. But I bet you I can find a song that's going to absolutely amplify that every step of the way, given how the guitar progressions work, given the tones and the different frequencies that are being played within there, given how the vocal technique is. You're going to feel something on there because you'll be able to relate to how you felt about something that reminds you of that, and it's going to end up getting closer to it. So it helps us all connect. It helps us connect not only with the music, but especially from a mental health standpoint, like you brought up with men. Yeah, it's, of course, we've always been conditioned to keep it inside, not bring it up. No one really cares about our problems. And that's still going to be probably something that's going to be consistent within men throughout the rest of the time. But if we have those areas of support where we can actually go talk about these things and, not let them be bottled up in there, and be in a place where we can feel vulnerable and just not have the different societal pressures kind of get to us, that's the point in time where we can actually improve that mental health, where we can grow and we can heal from where the problems that we're having, and we can be better not only for ourselves, but for our families, for our children, for our friends, for our spouses, whoever it might be. We can be the best, most supportive people for them at that standpoint. We can be the most positive people for us and be the best people that we can to have that positive impact on our community, on our families, on our friends. And being able to focus in on that and connect through something like music, that's going to be one of the biggest connecting points ever, because of that emotional tendency it has to explain things that are unexplainable.
Yeah, and like the beauty with music as well, it's like you can interpret it however you want. The song might be about completely different subject. Like take Burn Bright, for example, that could easily be about breakup, right? If
Mhm.
you listen to the lyrics, it could be about any kind of loss. And like music for me was like super important. Back when I was a young teenager, oh my God, I was awful. Like my mental health was in the bin. Yeah, and the one thing that really kind of got me through the hard times is this very emotional emo music. It probably didn't help. But because all the song back then, all songs were very, it wasn't very advocates of mental health. They're like, I just want to end it all. Um, but no, but like to be real, like yeah, music for me like really helped me out and kind of got me through some real hard times. And like being like having the opportunity to be that to somebody else is pretty fucking cool. Um, Surreal as well, like knowing that you might have that kind of similar effect on somebody. Um, but that's the goal. Just help people through music and I guess for us, it's being able, like we are saying, like, it's okay to talk about our problems. Our way of doing that is now through our music. We can express it in our own way. And I think that, again, a bit cliche, but that's what emo music's all about, right? It's short for emotional. It's just expressing your emotions and just connecting people through that. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool that we're able to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And the more that it's brought up in music and the more people really express it as long as they truly feel it, the more that message gets out and the more it's continued on. Because I'm thinking about, I was going through some really bad times. This was around 2017, early 2018. And I was even thinking about, music was the biggest driver for me to continue going and just not
Mm.
give up on life. And because of that, I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you right now. I created the whole podcast based off of that. That just 'cause I wanted something for myself, be able to have some sort of purpose, and I want to create something for myself. And it took a couple of tries, but boom, now we're
That's it.
here, and I'm still doing this, from over 5 years at this point. But I still remember now. I'm thinking about this. This brought up an idea back in 2017, right before everything went to shit. Papa Roach released the album Crooked Teeth. And on there is a single called Help. And it's literally about, struggling and needing to ask for help. And I would listen to it, but I never actually took it seriously. However, through going through those times, through music and through just being able to be open about some different issues, I've been able to not only be better with my issues and be able to ask for help when I need it, but be able to be there for other people when they're scared to be able to open up but to somebody, be scared of just what people are going to say about them if they bring up something that really they struggle with or they're scared to bring up. But at the same time, it's allowing me to connect with them in a deeper level and help provide them with that help that maybe they're too afraid to ask for. But
Mm.
it's all because of the fact that I went through something and music helped me through it. But now I'm able to fully understand with a lot of these songs that, they're advocating you to go for help. They're advocating you to ask for help when you need it. And if you're scared to do it, there's going to be people out there that are going to be willing to help you if you ask for it. But sometimes we just need that little bit of push. And it kind of might be sometimes up to us just to ask if just simply, are you okay? And if they say, yeah, like that's not I'm asking, like, or I'm not asking if you scraped your knee or anything, if you're okay, but like actually like inside, personally, mentally, emotionally, are you okay?
Yeah, like the charity that I kind of volunteer for is called Talk Club. And what they do is really cool. And they go, oh, out of 10, how are you today? Instead of just asking how are you, because like we'll just go, oh yeah, fine. And if I go, oh, how are you out of 10? If you go, oh, I'm a 7, and they're, oh, okay, why are you not a 10? Like, what's up? Sort of thing. And it opens up conversation. So there are other ways to talk about it, and other ways to kind of create dialogue, just so people don't shrug you off with the "it's fine, I'm okay" kind of thing. I'm okay is such a bullshit answer sometimes. Just to get on with your day. But yeah, conversation is important, man. Super important.
Kind of like that idea. It's just because at that point in time, yeah, if you ask, "Are you okay? How are you today?" "I'm okay." We're so used to saying that. We're so used to
Mm,
doing that as a way to not only just be polite to answer the question, but to just move on and just get to the next piece of information, get to the next
yeah.
question, get to the next bit of the conversation, or just to leave and be on for the day. But if you ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you? You might get someone that opens up and if you're having a real bad day, say they're a 1 or a 2 or like a -5. You might get someone say I'm an absolute 10 and you get to share within that joy. But if someone says like, yeah, I'm a 6 or a 7, and you're like, okay, well, why aren't you a 10? Or why are you only a 7 at this point? Now you can help, foster that conversation. And it's already opened up to the point where someone knows you're not fully, fully yourself, fully okay in that moment, and that they're actually interested in hearing what you have to say as a person and not just asking if you're okay as a common courtesy.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it just creates dialogue, right? And just opens up conversation. And like I said, it's too easy just to shrug things off, I think. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that kind of like way of asking. It's not too what's the word? Intrusive
Mm-hmm.
either. It's not, you're not trying to what's going on? What's up? You just kind of just, how are you out of 10? And how come you're not 10? And if they don't want to talk about it, then yeah, cool. No, don't worry. I am if you don't, if you need to. But then as a friend, right? If it's your
Mm-hmm.
friend, that they're not a 10 that day, they're a 7, so to like kind of like not keep an eye on them, but like just be aware that, they're not the greatest, so if you're out with them for the day, don't expect too much from them, all that kind of stuff. So you just kind of get you a good read on the person as well, if they at least they answer honestly to you, that is. But yeah, that's it's quite a cool way of doing it.
I'm gonna actually take that and I'm gonna start using that myself too, just based
It
on the
really
fact,
works.
just
It
just in the
really,
fact, just in the fact that there's certain times like I still want to know how some of my friends are doing, and if I can kind of sense that there's something that's just might be a little bit off about them, then I'm not going full intrusive asking, okay, what's going on and what's wrong. It opens up the dialogue of just starting it out, and if they really want to open up about it, yeah, then I'm here. I'm here for you. I got you covered. We're here. Let's go through this. Let's work through this together. But if you don't want to open up about it, okay, that's fine. I totally understand that piece as well. However, now I know that, you might not be doing the best, but also that I know and that I'm okay with it with whatever it is. So if you feel like you need to open up, you have that support system in place already there for you because that question was asked in that manner.
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Man, this turned into the mental health podcast out of nowhere, but I love it when this shit happens.
Mental health is wealth.
Absolutely, because again, we get to know not only more about the music, but more about like where it actually is coming from a genuine place. When I have conversations like this, that kind of just go in any random direction, but also figuring out more. It's like, okay, now we're diving deeper into mental health. We're diving deeper into actual strategies that not only we can use to just try and make ourselves better, but find a way to connect with other people. And especially if it's friends that we think might not be doing so well, how can we connect with them and show them support in a fashion that's not necessarily intrusive, but shows that, we are here for you. And if you're not ready, we're still going to be here for you when you're ready.
Exactly that, my dude. Exactly that.
And that's just absolutely fantastic. So, as it comes for Love Lost for the rest of 2024, what else is on the agenda? I know you spoke about new music. I know you spoke about the new
Mm.
EP. But what else you guys got planned for this year?
Um, that's pretty much it. We're just focusing on our music now. So like we're not gonna be looking for any live shows in the future at all. We're gonna hold off until everything's this year's done, and we'll see what that does for us and what opportunities that creates. So I think with how the industry has um, ended up in terms of like how a band should work as a business is so different to how it used to be. Back in the day, you used to have to play shows to be recognized, but now you don't play shows to be recognized anymore. You play shows when you are recognized, or that's how it's for some bands, that's how it is. So it's like getting on the old social media hype and all that kind of stuff is what everyone's doing nowadays, to get their music out there. So because we have that, option of people being able to listen to our music, stream it, and watch the videos and all that kind of stuff, we'll let people enjoy that for the most part, for this year. But for this year, it's just going to be all about the music, man, and just kind of like get as much social media content out as much as possible, share the journey with everybody. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We try not to overcomplicate it, just like keep it simple.
Yeah, I don't think you're overcomplicating it, but you're also staying abreast of the times as well because I mean, even think about it. This was before the pandemic even hit, but the pandemic accelerated it where there are people now that are a little bit more used to still staying at home. They're still, not wanting to go out as much because they don't feel like they have to as much, or they just feel more comfortable at home. But especially when it comes to shows, there are some people that are out there that they're not going to go to a show unless it's for a band that they absolutely know. They're not necessarily as willing to take a chance anymore. Not only that, but when it comes to overall just, there's some concerts that are not that expensive. But still, when it comes to spending money where inflation is running rampant and the cost of living is going up, especially here in America, it takes a little bit of a tougher time to try and get new people to go out to shows if that's not, something that you're fully into. But if you're taking the social route on it, where attention still is, where most people are getting their music, getting their news, getting any kind of interaction, the most amount of social interaction they get throughout the day is online, then you're hitting people where it actually is mattering in terms of attention, so that you can continue to grow the band, you continue to grow the following of it. So when it comes time to play live shows, you're going out there and those people are going to already have this like innate want to come and see you play live and not feel like it's going to be a chore that's going to be forced upon them.
Yeah, I think what you said about, the economy as well, it doesn't help either, because there's some like gigs and for not even that big a band sometimes. And I look at the price of tickets, I'm like, crikey. Um, yeah, like it's like live shows, is getting tough to fill them out, because of that, unless you're huge, obviously, and then people will pay anything to come watch you. Um, but yeah, like you said, it's like I think social media is quite powerful, Um, I think there are still some people that are a little bit apprehensive of using it and stuff, but at the end of the day, I think you're just gonna have to get over that and just accept your fate and that and be the slave to the algorithm gods. I think it is how it is. So yeah, we're trying to find our feet in that area. So it's mostly myself and Sam that kind of look after the social media stuff. So yeah, like me and him are kind of getting together and kind of trying to come up with some ideas that can help us kind of gain more viewers or listens and stuff like that. So we've got a little bit of America in there. We're starting to get a little bit noticed in the US, which is nice. I can imagine, there's a huge emo scene in America, isn't there? So yeah, hopefully we get picked up.
That's the hope. That's the dream. How about this? That not the dream. That's the goal.
Yeah,
Because a
yeah, that
goal
is the
is a
goal.
dream that has a plan behind it to make it happen.
Yeah, we got the plan. We're all good.
We got the plan. We got the
Fingers
goal.
crossed.
Fingers
That's
crossed,
it.
we're good. Well, Ant, I got one last question for you. It's something I love asking every single artist I bring on the podcast. It's a way for us, not only as listeners, but also fans of music and myself as well, to get to know more about the great music that's out there that we should be getting to know about. So, can you name me 3 bands that you absolutely love right now that you would love to see more people get into?
Oh my God. Oh yes. There's one band I've only recently just discovered called Commonwealth. I would highly recommend listening to Commonwealth. I've got my Spotify right up here and they're right in front of me because I was listening to them whilst I was speaking to you. They are from not coming up. That's how much of a fan I am. But yeah, they're an American band. They're an American band. They're fantastic, kind of like modern emo. That's one band. Um, the second band, who would I say? I mentioned Casey, but they're pretty big. Let's put Casey in there. If you've not
Okay.
listened to Casey, listen to Casey. They're fantastic. Got to saw them live last year at 2000 Trees Festival, and they were phenomenal. Um, who else? Hmm. So I can go on forever about new bands and music. So I always find I have to really be careful with my choice. Movements. Yeah, movements are wicked. They released a band called Ruckus last year, and I absolutely love it. So if you're not listening to movements and you haven't listened to the album Ruckus, do it. It's great.
I'll give a little bit of shout out to Movements too, because I remember this was 2022. They were on tour with Knocked Loose headlining, and they went on in between Kubla Khan and Knocked Loose. Makes no sense to have Movements in there, especially on paper. But then when Movements went on, I don't think they could have made a better choice, because Movements had the crowd still moving, still going, but we were getting the rest after beating the crap out of each other for Kubla Khan and still amped up to go and beat each other up during Knock Loose. But we got the perfect break in between with Movements. Don't know why it worked, but it did, and it was awesome.
Yeah, movements are awesome, man. Like I knew of them for a long time, because they're an Orange County band, aren't they? Yeah, I didn't really get into them. I knew of them, but yeah, like only at the beginning of this year, end of last year, I got really into them. I still am. Yeah, they're really really cool. I love. When they're next in the UK, I'm definitely gonna go and see them.
Oh, absolutely do so. And, well, people should go and see you when you guys are ready to perform live. So I'm going to end this podcast with three things. First off, again, beforehand, thank you, Ant, for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. This was a great conversation. But thank first, when it comes to Love Lost, when it comes to making sure you guys go listen to Burn Bright, when it comes to make sure you follow along with the band, when all the new singles are coming out, when the full EP comes out, and to make sure you get that most positive mental health feel from emo music, you're going to go to the description of the podcast, which says Find Love Lost online. Links and labels are going to be there for everything, social media-wise, where you can stream music, where you can watch the music videos, where you can go get some potential merch, and where you can go and see them live when they're ready. So go down there. It's all going to be down there for you. I'm your own personal Google here, people. You don't need to go search this up on Google. I got you covered. Just go there. I'm making it as easy as possible, so you got no excuse. None. And now it's time for number 2. Ant, whenever we're guesting the podcast, I enjoy being on the podcast. I tend to make a certain promise as a way to say, thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time, as well as I wish to continue to support the band in the future. So this is my promise to you, my friend. It is a when, because that implies this will happen. We just don't have a day or time yet. When I get to see you perform live for the first time, I will go all Liam Neeson from Taken on you, as I will look for you. I will pursue you. I will find you. I will come say hi, and first round's on me.
And you're off guest list.
Yes.
There you go.
That is very pleasing to Liam Neeson. Oh, that's perfect. Well, brilliant. Now it's up for number 3. Ant, I cannot end this podcast by saying goodbye. This was a lot of fun. I love the conversation. I want to continue to support the band, and I would love to have you back on again in the future. So this cannot be goodbye, my friend. This is, I'll see you later.
Peace.
Well, folks, in my interview with Ant from the band Love Lost, now time for Kevin's final thought. That strategy that Ant had brought up when it came to mental health is something that I'm going to remember and take with me. And here's why. So remember what the strategy was. The strategy is when you're asking someone how they're doing today, or if they're okay, and then you say, I'm fine, I'm okay. You just leave it at that and you don't go any further. But I'm going to start asking people, if I really want to get to know them, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how you doing today? How you feeling today? Scale of 1 to 10. And if it's a 10, I'll be like, oh man, what's going on today? How great is this day? Like, what's going on for you? It's less than a 10. It's like, okay, seems like a pretty good day though. Why is it not a good day? Or, well, what's going on? Why is it so low? And then they're able to open about it if they want. If they don't want to, that's fine. But the key to the matter is when you ask someone a question like that, and then you're able to follow up with, well, what's going on? Do you want to talk about it? And if they say no, that's okay. That's fine. Reason being is because, it's life. Stuff happens. Shit happens. What are you going to do about it? But man, does it just help open up the possibility for people to actually say what's going on in a very non-intrusive way, and also in a very open way where they're not going to feel judged, because you genuinely want to know, you genuinely care. That's the key. And man, I got to start using this stuff too, because there's some friends where I'm like, just things don't seem right, but I don't want to also intrude. I don't want them to feel like I'm being intrusive, but I also want to make sure they're doing okay. And that's a way to go and do it. And music has helped make me realize this. And the conversation music helped me make me realize this. I know that I have to go and get help sometimes too, or open up and ask for help when I'm not doing well. Mostly because, I went through some of that stuff, and music made me realize that life could get better. But also, we talk about mental health so much, especially in music today. when we talk about reaching out and getting help, the more that message goes out, the more people are going to actually understand it's okay. But the more we actually put it in practice, that's when it's really going to hit. So I absolutely love Ant for bringing that up. Thank you, man. When it comes to Love Lost, be sure to support them. Go straight to the podcast where it says Find Love Lost online. Links and labels for everything is going to be there for you to go check them out and follow along with them. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Corporate Crush podcast right down here. New episodes every single Tuesday and Thursday, and Friday reaction videos as well. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you can follow along with us there. New episodes every single Tuesday and Thursday as well. Also, hit the like button on these episodes to make sure we push in the algorithm. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links to the podcast below. Thank you, Ant. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening. I hope you're having a 10 out of 10 day today, but if you're not, feel free to reach out. Here to listen. On that note, that's what you guys think for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. That was a big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah.